Good morning, Brad here from Squeaky Clean Comics, but today I'm coming to you as one of the co-organizers of Elsi-con, which just happened over the weekend in Elsi, New Brunswick. The first comic convention of its kind in a First Nations community in Atlantic Canada. So it went off really well. It went off so well that we'll for sure be having a second one. So when that happens, we will be the first ongoing comic book and pop culture convention in all of Canada history, which is kind of cool. So I would like to recap how this all came to pass from my perspective, I guess. So the beginning of it happened because Claudette Bradshaw, who is a local political powerhouse here, was visiting her son Nick at the East Coast Comic Expo. Nick is a very talented artist with Marvel and DC. He does all sorts of stuff for everybody. So Claudette brought Susan, who is a political powerhouse in her own way. She's very big with Indigenous affairs. She was the first chief of First Nations in Canadian history, first female chief, sorry, and she ran for the NDP in I think 2011 or 2012. So she's quite the lady. Big fan of Susan. We've become pretty close in this thing. So Susan came, brought her daughter Ren, and Ren is an artist, and so Ren started becoming a vendor for us, and she was set up a table and do all of that stuff at East Coast Comic Expo, and Susan would come with her. So this year, Susan was there, and she's talking to her buddy Mike DeAtter, who I'm sure they've known each other for a long time, as she's a big political activist, and he's a political cartoonist, so I'm sure that they've crossed paths more than once. She mentions to Mike, hey, this would be kind of cool to have up in Elsie, and Mike says, Susan, if anybody can do it, it's you. You should do it, run with it. And I'm sure Mike was thinking, that'd be good for next year. You know what I mean? Like, next year we'll do it. And so Susan gets that in her head, and she's talking to like Brendan Mitchell, who's one of our artists, and Tara Otterward, and who are both Indigenous artists that come to our shows for East Coast Comic Expo. And part of the reason we did Elsie was to have them there, and I'll get to it in a minute. That didn't happen, but we'll make it happen next year. So Susan goes over and is talking to one of my best buddies and Scott Tingley, who is with East Coast Comic Expo. He's like one of the day of guys that kind of makes it all happen. But Tingley also does a lot of stuff leading up to it, but he's more of the run around and do stuff when you need him to do stuff because he enjoys doing it. He just that's cool. He loves it, and so he goes and does that. Like for Elsi-con, he didn't do a whole lot leading up, but if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have happened because it was a conversation with him and Susan that kind of got the ball rolling. So Susan goes over and is like, oh, geez, I'd like to have something like this for Elsi-con. And Scott's like, well, that's a great idea. We'd love to help you with it. Anything we can do, we'll help you with it. Thinking, it'll be next year. So by the time they wrap up their conversation, he turns around and Susan's already doing press for Elsi-con coming up type of idea. And we're like, don't even know a date or any of this stuff. Now, when you're organizing something like this, there's a few things that are pretty much usually colossal pains in the arse. One of them being getting the venue. Now, Susan, being the political dynamo she is and pretty important up in Elsie, knew all the connections and just basically said, yeah, we can, within like hours, I think she had the venue of where we had it. And it was beautiful. It was the same venue that they had for the Hockeyville Challenge, I think like a few years ago, where they won like $250,000 or something for a revamp. And it was that arena. So, we go up and we look at the place. Well, I'm jumping ahead a bit. So after the Comic Expo, everybody's wiped out. Me, Tingley, and a couple buddies take off and go to PEI for a few days to unwind and kind of decompress and sit by the pool. And he's like, yeah, so this, we're thinking about, maybe we'll do this thing in Elsi-con. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And then I think we were away. You know what? Even before we went away, Susan had a date. She basically came back to us and said, we can have it August 9th, which is like 7 weeks away. And we're like, we might be able to pull something off. Maybe. Probably not. But then we go away for a few days and we're thinking about it. It's like, maybe we can do it in 7 weeks. And luckily, Susan's like, well, we're going to get Adam Beach. And well, that would be friggin' amazing if we can get Adam Beach. So Adam originally was going to be on the 9th. And then luckily, Adam had to push back to the 23rd. So it's like, okay, 9 weeks? I think we can do it. And Tingley's like, yeah, I think we can do it. So when we got back, we were like, okay, let's get her going. And so right off the bat, talked to Derek. I'm like, okay, we need a logo. Derek's like, got it. So Derek, within probably 3-4 hours, whipped up a logo. I'm like, okay, now I get the colors, I get the branding, I got what I need. I start on the website. Within a few hours, the website's live, but a skeleton version of it, because we haven't had any guests or we don't have anything. Like, just basically, Elsi-con.com is live. Good enough. So then I get the Facebook up and running, and it's like, okay, so we get that. What's the next step? Well, we need vendors. We need a decorator. Okay, Bob Lee is a good friend of mine. He does all of our stuff for East Coast Comic Expo. I've been his website designer for 20 years. And so I messaged Bob late at night, like a Thursday night. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or, we're thinking about doing this thing, kind of a ECCE type of spin-off-ish type of thing for First Nations up in Elsie-Bucktuck. On August 23rd, are you available? And he's like, let me check. He gets back to me the next morning. Yeah, I'm available. So I put Bob in contact with Susan right away. They square away the deal. That's done. I'm like, okay, so we got the venue. We got Bob. Well, I guess this thing's happening. Okay, so let's go. So we start reaching out to vendors. Now, we learned a lot of lessons in this thing, and there are 2 big events happening around this time. YQM Country Concert here in Moncton and the Fan Expo in Toronto. So we wanted, the first guest we wanted was Nick Bradshaw. Because, this whole thing kind of started, like, if Nick wasn't who Nick is, this wouldn't have happened. So we wanted Nick, and we wanted his wife, Danica. Or girlfriend. I think they're married. I don't know. So we wanted Nick and we wanted Danica. They were already booked for Fan Expo in Toronto. So it's like, okay, we're going to have an issue. There's nobody around. Everybody's gone, and East Coast Comic Expo is kind of, they probably booked up their time for that. Anyway, so we were having a hard time getting local comic book artists. But we do know everybody, so I reached out to Tony White, and Tony's like, I'm in. Reached out to Andrew, he's like, I'm in. I love Hal, and I love Brianna, so we reached out to John Ambrose. Okay, so let me go back a little bit. So once we got Adam Beach, it was like, okay, we need some more celebrity guests. Like, because this expo is about celebrities. East Coast Comic Expo wasn't. It might be moving forward because of what we did with Elsi-con. But we always had, the only guest we ever had was Robert Maillet, because Robert is local. We love him. He's our hero. So we usually have Robert, but he's the only actor we have at East Coast Comic Expo. Now, Susan wanted to bring in Adam Beach. Like, okay, this is a different dynamic. This is really cool. I got a guy named John Ambrose, who's a stuntman, who I've become a bit buddies with. We met a few years ago, and we've been talking for the past year about me maybe doing some website stuff for him. That's what it started with. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, I would love to. I may be in Florida, blah, blah, blah. We'll figure it out. But yes, I'm in. And then John is like, hey, I'm going to hook you up with my talent manager, Trisha. And Trisha has a ton of contacts. So moving forward, Trisha is going to be pretty important with Elsi-con, I think, getting guests down the road. So we managed to scrounge together like 12 guests, and that's where we're capping it. We've got the floor plan down. Every year, it's just going to be 12 guests. Going to be different guests every year. I think I like everybody that came this year. I don't know if you'll be back next year, but maybe the year after. Like, we have a big talent pool, and we're going to pull from it, as best we can in Atlantic Canada. But we want to get native talent first, because there's so much out there, and I don't know if they knew about it. I don't know, but so. And that comes back to Brendan and Tara, because we wanted Brendan Mitchell and Tara Audibert to be a part of this, because they're like the ones that we always bring in from the Indigenous community, is those two guys. Initially, when we were doing it on the 9th, they could do it. And it was like, sweet. But then when Adam needed to push back to the 23rd, which is great because realistically, it wouldn't have happened in that time frame. Brendan and Tara couldn't do it anymore. So it's like, shit. Next year, we'll make sure that they're available. And, on an 9-week time frame, I get it. Holy crap. Like, we got what we could with the time we had. So then we go up to, so we got Bob, we got John, And John recommends Glenn Gould. And I'm like, Glenn Gould, that name sounds familiar. So he sends me his link, and I'm looking it up. I'm like, I know this guy. This guy's like one of my favorite Indigenous actors. He's been in everything that I love. He's in Tulsa King with Sly Stallone right now. Well, not right now. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, so I'm not going to tell you. But he's not on Tulsa King season 3. But I do know a few people that are, and it's going to be a really cool show in season 3. So we got Glenn. And so Glenn just lives in Nova Scotia. He's from First Nations down there, and he has, he's not far. He loves his stuff. So Glenn came up as well. So we got John, and so we're starting to get our celebrity guests. As far as local talent, Tony, and we managed to get all those guys together and put together a pretty good guest list for our first show. I think with what we had and the time frame we had and the fact that we had the country concert working against us, we had Fan Expo working against us. Now we know the country concert is being held the week after, like it's now Post Malone's coming, it's going to be like a week from. Fan Expo is going to be the same time. So you may have heard it here first, but we're going to try to get the 15th of August, which is available. So we will see if we can for 2026. So that's kind of the plan as I write this, because I just got a message and blah blah blah. So maybe we'll be doing August 15th next year. So then at this point in the story, me and Tingley go up and meet with Susan and Kylie. Kylie runs the event center out there. She is a dynamo. She's so cool. Yeah. So Kylie took on a little more than she probably needed to take on. Like, she should have just been the liaison. You know what I mean? That was enough. That was a big job. And she even did some MC work the day of and stuff like that. And she managed the banking and all that jazz. And she really shouldn't have had to do any of that stuff. So it did cause a couple little hicks in... that's Susan messaging me now. She's messaging me a bunch of stuff, and I'm trying to do this to talk about Susan. Anyways, so Kylie was a dynamo. She was great. She managed the vendor relations in the beginning. So she basically started off the vendor relations stuff. We got her hooked up with Kevy, who was our vendor relations guy and one of our top guys with ECCE. And Kevy gave her like a 2-hour tutorial on kind of, this is what I do, and sent her like the emails that we send out, and we put our little spin on it and got that out to the vendors. And then we had to do some fundraising, and so I wrote up some sponsorship proposals for them and gave them that, which generated $10,000 worth of funding for them, which was cool. So that was cool. Let's see what else. So we go out, we check out the place, and it's like this beautiful room, and we're like, okay, we'll figure it out. Show Derek what we got so he can come up with the floor plan. So he's working on that. We got our vendors rolling. We've got our guests rolling. And then we wanted to get some cosplay going. So Susan says, we're going to give away a lot of money for this thing. I'm like, really? Like, what do you want to do? And so she's like, $1,000 for first place, $500 for second place. We don't really know much about cosplay competitions and how they're supposed to run. I'm like, sweet. And so I'm like, I don't really know who we're going to get. And then I'm like, well, geez, Seb and Sue would be great. Like, Sue is a top-notch cosplayer, and Seb is brilliant in a bunch of ways. He's really good. But what I didn't know about Seb, which blew me away, the freaking guy is an amazing MC. And moving forward, he is our MC for this show, beating out some real stiff competition, because one of my best friends is Tony Smith, and he was going to do it, but then the country concert. So instead of coming to Elsi-con, he got to say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jelly Roll." You know what I mean? So I get it. That's fine. But I think Seb earned his place. He picked it up, stepped up, and he rocked it. And I can't imagine anybody doing a better job than that. So moving forward, I think Seb is our voice. Her and Sue are going to run the cosplay event, which was amazing. The kids had so much fun. We gave away a bunch of money. We got a bunch of prizes from a bunch of local sponsors, like my clients. I basically just reached out to my clients and said, "Hey, I'm part of this thing. Can we get some gift certificates?" And it probably took 3-4 hours to pull together. And Amanda ran around and picked up all the gift certificates from the clients. It was great, and it just came together really quickly. And that's a beautiful thing about this thing. It came together so seamlessly, I want to say. And for example, IHW. I've been wanting to have IHW and ECCE for years. Now, the thing about ECCE is there's a lot of voices, a lot of people in there, a lot of personalities, and for the most part, I kind of step back. I don't go to meetings a whole lot. Like with the ECCE, I'm pretty much just a website guy, or at least I want to be. I do want to take maybe a little more of a role this year because of what we did with Elsi-con. There's a few things that, you might see wrestling in ECCE this year. You might see some celebrities in ECCE this year. I remember I've been pitching wrestling to ECCE for years. Like I remember sitting on Derek's patio and I showing Craig a video of one of my favorite wrestlers, Brian Cage, dressed up as Bane, doing a Comic-Con wrestling event. And I'm like, that is what I want to do for ECCE. And it almost happened before the pandemic. Me and Derek actually met with Eric Doucette, who's been with he was with IHW for years. He has his own North Pro. He did. Now I guess he sold that. But we were gonna do it, and then the pandemic hit, and then so that kind of quashed that. And then when we came back from the pandemic, one of our guys, Craig, one of our team members, who's a big part of ECCE, is also a big part in the gaming community, like Warhammer and 40K, and they were having a huge contest, and Craig got it sanctioned for ECCE, so we ended up moving that big tournament to ECCE, which kind of took up the room for the wrestling, which is fine, and it went so well that year that we continued it on to the next year. So we haven't been able to do wrestling at ECCE. So I was like, well, geez, I'd like to do it up in Elsie if that's the case. So I asked Sue, I said, is the natives like wrestling? And she was like, she asked Fabian, her husband, who's part of the co-organizing team with us, and he's phenomenal. And Fabian's like, yes, they love wrestling. So I have been part of IHW in the past, back in 2010, I believe. And so I know those guys. Kirk, the guy who runs it now, I don't really know. He came in after I left, but every wrestler that came up for the show were old friends of mine, and which was awesome. I saw, Chris, but I don't know what he's going by. He used to be Chris Tuff. Anyways, we were really good friends back in the day. Haven't seen him in a decade. Saw him, and it was like, oh my god. So we're gonna probably be hanging out more because of Elsi-con. He's been really close with me and Amanda for years, but we lost touch, and then we reconnected. And same with Julian Young, old friend, Chris Hicks. Well, Chris Charters. When Chris started, he's now their champion. But when Chris started, I was already there. So he came in as a rookie as I was kind of leaving. But I wasn't a wrestler. I was just an on-screen type of character that just talked, I guess. So, yeah. We got wrestling. And wrestling went off without a hitch. Everybody loved it. The kids loved it. The celebrities loved it. The guests loved it because they had wrestling right in front of their screen, right in front of their table. There was a big wrestling ring and a big event, and the kids went crazy for it. So that went off without a hitch. Everything pretty much went off without a hitch. There was some small fires that happened the day of. Derek and Tingley and Cindy took care of a ton of that stuff. It was just great. Yeah, so we've got our cosplay team in place. We've got our whole team in place. So year number 2 is going to be amazing. What else? So we've got... we had John coming, and so John Ambrose has become quite the buddy over the time of putting this thing together. So when he came into town, I kind of became his handler. We got to spend a lot of time with Glenn Gould, got to spend a lot of time with Adam Beach while they were down. Tony and Andrew and Hal and Brianna, like everybody, like Larry, like you guys coming in as guests really helped out. Just the energy in the room was great. Like attendance was crazy good. Like we're happy with what we got for sure. Like we had a lot of stuff working against us. I've said it to Tingley and he loved it. I said, not bad for a ragtag group of misfits on a shoestring budget and an unrealistic time frame. And that's basically what it was. We pulled it together in 9 weeks. We didn't have a ton of money, no grants, and we will this time. They have tons of grants available to them. So this year we're gonna try to figure out how to tap into that, so we can get some even better, not better guests. You can't really get much better than Adam Beach, and Glenn Gould, and John, they were just so good. But look, we're gonna have different guests every year. There's a huge talent pool to pull from. A lot of people didn't take a chance on it, and I think they may regret. No, it's going to be an ongoing thing. So not like they're going to regret it. But like I personally invited a ton of people to it. And from what I can tell, just Brian Chan showed up. So, yeah, it is what it is. Not as many community members I think I was hoping to see. But, they missed out. And now they're going to know that they missed out. And next year they will be there, I suspect. Because the energy in the room was phenomenal. The vendors that came in did great. I think they all made enough money to be happy. Of course, I would like to make more, and you'd like to see the floor full the whole day. But the floor was full for certain points of the day. There were certain points of the day you looked around, it's like that's a full room, and that is what you're looking for. Our video guy Dave Colley, who's me and him have been buddies and kind of tied together for probably 15 years as far as our work bounces off each other all the time. Dave come up and hooked us up with the PA and our video screens and all of that. So wouldn't have happened without Dave being awesome. We had some great sponsors on financial sponsors. I'm going to make a big Facebook post about it later on today, as well as our cosplay sponsors. So every winner of the cosplay, like the top guy won $1,000. The second one won $500, and then we had 5 categories. And then in each of the 5 categories, number 1 got $100 and some gift certificates, and number 2 and 3 got gift certificates. We had gift certificates from Razor's Edge, and we had gift certificates from the Boardwalk and the Comic Hunter and Spin It and a bunch of guys at Pizza Mill. Everybody pretty well got a pizza. Like, thanks, Dave. Everybody pretty well got a pizza, which was awesome. What else am I missing? I want to make sure I cover everything. There will be next year, for sure. But yeah, I think we covered cosplay, we covered wrestling, we covered the vendors. The day of event was awesome. Yeah, I think we're good. Look forward to doing it next year. Yeah, 20 minutes. That's long enough. All right, bye.